In the turbulent currents of history, few names surge with as much force as Napoleon Bonaparte. But behind the grand portraits and legendary battles lies a far more complex story, a tale of an outsider, a revolutionary, a genius, and a tyrant, all wrapped into one. This isn't just a highlight reel of victories and defeats. This is the story of the man from his humble beginnings on a rugged island to his final lonely breaths in the middle of the ocean. This is the real Napoleon. Our story begins not in Paris, but on the island of Corsica in 1769. Born Napoleon Bonaparte, he was a child of a minor noble family in a land that had just been annexed by France. He wasn't French. He was a Corsican nationalist who initially despised his future rulers. This identity as an outsider, a second-class citizen in a new world, ignited a fire within him. He was sent to military school in France at the age of 9, a small, somber boy with a thick accent, often bullied for his heritage. This isolation didn't break him, it forged him. He found solace not in friends, but in books and the lives of great men like Alexander and Caesar. He poured himself into his studies, mastering artillery and military strategy. He knew even then that his mind was his greatest weapon. The young boy from Corsica wasn't just learning to fight, he was learning to conquer. Then the world caught fire. The French Revolution of 1789 shattered the old order, creating a vacuum of power and a desperate need for leaders. For a young, ambitious officer like Napoleon, this chaos was not a threat, it was an opportunity. While seasoned generals faltered, Napoleon thrived. His first taste of glory came at the Siege of Toulon in 1793. With audacious tactics and a brilliant understanding of artillery, he drove the British from the city, earning a promotion to brigadier general at the astonishing age of 24. He wasn't just following orders anymore. He was rewriting the rule book. In 1795, when royalist rebels threatened the new government in Paris, it was Napoleon who was called upon. He famously dispersed the mob with a whiff of grape shot, a ruthless but effective move that saved the Directory and cemented his reputation as a man of decisive action. His star was rising, and it was heading east to Italy and Egypt, where his legend would truly begin to take shape. By 1800, France was exhausted by a decade of revolution. It craved stability, it craved glory, and Napoleon offered both. Through a masterful coup d'état, he became first consul, effectively the ruler of France. But his ambition didn't stop there. He envisioned a new Europe, unified and efficient, with Paris as its heart. In 1804, in a ceremony dripping with imperial grandeur at Notre Dame, he crowned himself Emperor of the French. This was the pinnacle of his rise. He was no longer the Corsican outsider. He was the master of Europe. His military genius was on full display. At Austerlitz in 1805, the Battle of the Three Emperors, he achieved what many consider his masterpiece, brilliantly defeating the combined armies of Austria and Russia. He wasn't just a general. He was an innovator, a master of logistics, speed, and deception. He reformed France's legal system with the Napoleonic Code, a set of laws that promoted meritocracy and equality, and which still influences legal systems worldwide today. He was building an empire, not just with cannons, but with ideas. But every empire has its breaking point. Napoleon's was a fatal combination of hubris and obsession. His desire to crush his last great rival Great Britain led to the continental system, a disastrous economic blockade that crippled his own allies and stirred resentment across the continent. His personal life was also in turmoil. Divorcing his beloved Josephine because she could not provide an heir was a cold, political calculation that revealed the growing cracks in his humanity. Then came the fatal mistake, the invasion of Russia in 1812. He led the Grande Armée, the largest European army ever assembled, into the vast, unforgiving Russian plains. He expected a quick, decisive battle, but the Russians simply retreated, burning the earth behind them. By the time Napoleon reached a deserted, burning Moscow, winter was setting in. The retreat was a catastrophe, a frozen nightmare that consumed his army. The myth of his invincibility was shattered. Europe sensed his weakness and turned on him. Defeated and cornered, he was forced to abdicate in 1814 and exiled to the tiny island of Elba. For any other man, this would have been the end. But Napoleon was not any other man. After less than a year in exile, he gambled everything on one last audacious move. He escaped Elba, landed in France, and began a march to Paris. The soldiers sent to stop him, men who had fought under his banner, threw down their weapons and shouted, "Vive l'Empereur!" He reclaimed his throne without firing a single shot. This stunning comeback, known as the 100 Days, sent shockwaves through Europe. His enemies, Britain, Prussia, Austria, and Russia, quickly reformed their coalition. The final confrontation was inevitable. It came on a muddy field in modern-day Belgium on June 18, 1815, the Battle of Waterloo. It was a brutal, chaotic fight. For a moment it seemed Napoleon might just pull off another miracle, but the timely arrival of the Prussian army sealed his fate. The Imperial Guard, his elite, unbreakable force, finally broke. His dream was over. This time there would be no second chances. The British, determined to ensure Napoleon could never again threaten Europe, chose his final prison carefully. St. Helena, a remote volcanic rock in the middle of the South Atlantic, thousands of miles from anywhere. Here the Emperor of Europe became a prisoner. His days of conquest were replaced by a monotonous routine of walks, dictation, and gardening. He was a lion in a cage, constantly monitored by his British captors. In these final 6 years, he waged his last campaign, not on a battlefield, but for his legacy. He dictated his memoirs, meticulously crafting the legend he wanted the world to remember. He spoke of his regrets, his triumphs, and the grand vision he had for Europe. He was plagued by illness and the crushing weight of his isolation. On May 5, 1821, at the age of 51, Napoleon Bonaparte died. His final words were reportedly, "France, army, head of the army, Josephine." He was a man defined until his very last breath by the forces that had driven his extraordinary life. His story is a timeless reminder of how ambition can build an empire and how pride can bring it all crashing down. If this hidden story moved you, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. More forgotten heroes are waiting to be remembered.